Hello there, people of the internet. I was up kind of late last night and I was just going through inventory, seeing what I had, what I didn't have, what I should order, what I'm doing for future videos, etc., etc. And while I was going through inventory, I ended up deciding to myself, hey, you know what would be a fun little experiment? If I went through all of the things that I had and I tried to see, little things coming off here. I tried to see what I have the equipment for to be able to like give full loadouts to, I don't know, some people that I may have to hand some firearms out to. So completely hypothetical, just for fun situation. In the event that things go really bad, and I find myself among a group of many people where I have to start handing out rifles. If it gets to that point, then things have gone really, really bad. And I hate to say it, but even in the consideration of a modern day context, well, if things get so bad that you have to start handing out rifles, that usually means that there is a threat of some kind. And I really, really hate to say it, but with all of the advanced technology that we have nowadays, rifles of really any sorts are obsolete. Well, maybe not obsolete, but definitely obsolescent whenever it comes to protecting yourself from a legitimate viable threat, if that legitimate viable threat is on par with modern technology. Like, if your threat is a truck full of rednecks that have shotguns, then of course having a firearm of your own would be a good go-to. But if your threat is, say, oh, I don't know, some people, just a group of people who really effectively know how to, say, fly kamikaze drones, then I hate to tell you, but there's not a whole lot that you can do in terms of a firearm. A lot of people talk about using a shotgun to protect yourself from drones. Well, if you see how high up some of these drones are whenever they're dropping ordnance, they're pretty significantly high up there, to the point to where most people don't even see and or notice them. I hate to tell you, but shotgun's probably not going to do you much good against targets like that. So this right here is just a completely hypothetical, just for fun sort of situation where we're not going up against a modern technology armed force, and we're also not going up against a full-fledged, like, military force. Like, if we were going to be dealing with an invading army that was on par with the United States military, or better, which they would probably have to be better in order to reach our homeland, then handing out things like this would just be completely pointless. But that being said, the far more likely scenario, maybe there's a bad hurricane, because guess what? There have been multiple bad hurricanes in this particular area, to the point where we have had to, I don't necessarily want to say protect ourselves, but kind of guard ourselves, because things were getting sketchy. But all of that being said, if something happens and the community is down and we all got to kind of come together as a community and kind of rebuild our own little community, which has happened, what would I hand out? How much do I have to be able to hand out? And this is just in the event that nobody else has their own things, and quite a few people have their own things. Like, most people, at least in the areas that I typically dwell, most people have at least one thing that they can bring to the table. But in the event that they don't, what do I have access to, and how many people could I viably arm if I needed to just start grabbing things off the shelf? Here you go, here you go, here you go. A couple of caveats. We're doing this in a couple of different levels. We're looking at everything that I've got, then we're looking at some oddball things that I got, then we're looking at the most practical things that I got, and etc., etc. All of that being said, we're only having a look at the YouTube arsenal. I have the YouTube things that I play around with and show off, and then I have things that are kind of, you know, my own private things that nobody needs to know about. But for what it's worth, my private collection is significantly smaller than the YouTube collection that I show off on a regular basis, so we're really not missing out on much. Okay, so my criteria for this, sort of, it's kind of really, really loosely packed. If it's a bolt-action rifle, I want at least 50 rounds of ammunition per loadout, per rifle, per person, for this particular hypothetical situation. I definitely recommend having more than that for your own personal stockpile, but if we're talking about handing out rifles to people that have nothing, that is a significant step up. Whenever we're talking about semi-autos, I'd like to think that, say, ARs or AKs or anything like that, give them, say, 5 magazines worth. As a matter of fact, I have a bandolier right over there, just out of reach. I don't really feel like going over there to grab that. But I got a bandolier, and they hold 4 magazines of ammunition. Standard capacity ammunition, 4 mags worth, that's 120 rounds. Yeah, 30, 60, 90, 120. Plus 1 in the gun, that's 150, so 150 rounds of ammo. And then just a few other odds and end things that we're going to be covering. So, I have 2 M1 Garens, however that's pronounced, and I have plenty of 30-06 and plenty of clips for those. So those are 2 that I can get in. 8mm Mausers, I have 6 viable, usable 8mm Mausers that we can go ahead and utilize for this. Those are bolt-action rifles, but I definitely have plenty of 8mm Mauser surplus ammo that those can run. Alright, I have 2 7mm Mausers that I feel are serviceable enough to be able to allow people to use, and I have enough 7mm Mauser ammunition to give those a loadout. I have 3 308 Mausers and 1 SMLE. It's a Ishaport 2A1, also in 7.62 NATO. And I definitely have plenty of 308/7.62 NATO, and those right there are decent rifles. I feel I'd be able to hand those out as well. Rifles chambered in 303 British. I got 2 number 1 Mark III SMLEs, a Jungle Carbine lookalike, and a number 4 Mark I. So that's 4 rifles I'd be able to hand out. I think I should have, hopefully, enough ammunition to at least get people by. Mosin Nagant rifles, 7.62x54R. I have 4 of those, 2 9130s, an M44, and a regular old 1891. And I definitely have enough 7.62x54R ammunition. Okay, Carcanos. I bought a bunch of Carcanos back whenever they were cheap. The thing is, cheap Carcanos are great, but the clips to run them and the ammunition is expensive. I have a grand total of 13 rifles chambered in 6.5 Carcano. Unfortunately, I only have the ammunition and the clips and whatnot to run probably about 5. And that's kind of stretching it. That's not really all that much of a loadout per rifle. I'd probably feel more comfortable with 4. But for the sake of seeing how many people I could arm, we're going to go ahead and call it 5. Alright, M95s/8890s. All of my Steyr Austria straight pull rifles are chambered for 8x50R, not 8x56, 8x50R. And with these rifles, you can fire 7.62x54R from them all day long, no problem. The issue is they're not all that accurate, but I'm betting if I'm handing out rifles to just randoms who don't have anything, they're probably not going to be all that accurate anyway. So I've got 6 rifles that are chambered for that cartridge, and again, plenty of 7.62x54R ammo to go around. Alright, AR-15s, chambered in 223/5.56. I have probably about a dozen or so of them, but I have the logistical support to be able to run 4 simultaneously. I got plenty of ammunition, but as far as the magazines and a way to be able to carry those magazines, along with the equipment to keep these rifles running, I could probably get 4 solid loadouts going for these particular situations. On top of that, I've also got my Mini 14, also in 223/5.56, and I've got a loadout of 5 magazines for that particular rifle, so we are going to include that. And I have a 223 bolt action, which is probably somewhere inside this file, because I made a video with it not too terribly long ago. Since it's a bolt action rifle, I'm not really concerned all that much about magazines, so I definitely have 50 rounds of ammo that I could throw into that. Alright, I got 2 AKs, plenty of mags for those 2 AKs, plenty of 7.62x39. I got 3 SKSs, again, plenty of 7.62x39. I've also got plenty of SKS 10-round stripper clips to be able to run with those. I have 1 Setme C308 rifle, chambered in, of course, 308, and plenty of rounds to be able to run through that, and I think I have oh, I don't know, 6 or 7 different magazines, 20-round mags to go with it, along with a good number of surplus items to be able to run that kit. That's one of those things where if I needed a full-powered rifle, I gave myself a full-fledged setup with it. So I'd be able to run that. Alright, if things got so bad, I have 8 muskets of all sorts of variable calibers, but all of my muskets do run, and I have no doubts that if you were to load them up and pull the trigger, they would probably go bang. I have rounds to be able to fit all of them, and I make my own black powder, and I definitely have plenty of black powder to be able to run through these muskets. So 8 muskets in the event that I have to start handing out muskets if it gets that bad. Boy, oh boy, we are in a really tight spot. Alright, rifles chambered in 7.7 jab. I have 2 of those, and I make ammo for that from 30-06, and I have enough 7.7 jab to be able to load those guys up with a fair amount of ammunition. Rifles chambered in 6.5 jab. I have 2 of those. One sporterized Type 38, and one is a Type I. Might be Type 1, but I think it's Type I Carcano, air sockets, that hybrid thing. Also chambered for 6.5 jab. 6.5 jab is one of those cartridges where you can't really make them out of other brass without significant modifications, which, I mean, let's be honest, I'd rather just go out and buy the brass. So that's one of them where I probably have enough. I have enough to give somebody who has nothing a fighting chance at least. Alright, 6.5 Swede. I have one 6.5 Swede rifle, and I definitely have more than 50 rounds for it. 7.5 French. I have a Moss 36 and a Moss 4956, which is a semi-auto, and I don't know if I have enough ammunition to run through those bad boys. I think that I maybe have like 40 rounds of 7.5 French, if that. So, not very much. As a matter of fact, I'd probably just pick one of those rifles. Probably the bolt-action Moss 36, just for ammo conservation purposes. Not only that, but collect the brass, reload it. That's easier to do whenever you have a bolt-action rifle. So, probably just going to rock the Moss 36 on that one. Alright, 7.5 Swiss. I have 2 rifles, a 9611, I think that's the designation, along with a K31. I do have one of those antique 1886 rifles chambered in 7.5 by 53.5 Swiss, and I could kind of trim and undercharge those cartridges if I felt like it to be able to have a loadout for that particular rifle too, but I think that goes beyond the scope of what it is that I'm trying to do here. So versus making new things to be able to have another loadout, we're just going to say I have 2 rifles that I could hand out there. Alright, 22 long rifles. I got 5 rifles and 22 long rifle. I got plenty of 22 long rifle that I could be able to hand out to whoever it is decides that they want to rock a 22 long rifle. 30-06, I got 2 bolt actions along with those 2 M1 Grands, and I got plenty of 30-06. Lever guns, 357 Magnum, 44 Magnum, and 30-30, and I have plenty of rounds to be able to run through those 3 rifles. Shotguns, I have plenty of shotgun shells. I have 4 pump-action shotguns of various, what's the word I'm trying to say here? Various setups, various barrel lengths, various models, etc., etc., but 4 pump actions, and I have 6 single shots. Now, as far as the handguns go, the handguns are one of those that I really didn't put that much effort in, because if things are so bad that I'm handing out rifles, if I hand you a handgun, then things have gone really, really bad. I don't know, I think I'd take a handgun over a musket, though. So I got about 20 serviceable handguns chambered in 9mm, 45 ACP, and 40 Smith & Wesson, and the reason why I'm picking those particular cartridges is because I have the ammunition support to be able to back them up. I have oddball handguns with oddball rounds, like 25 ACP, 32 ACP, 32 and 38 Smith & Wesson, 455 Webley, probably some other ones that I'm forgetting about, and I might be able to set those up with a fairly decent load, but those oddball calibers, yeah, that's one of those situations where if I'm like stretching out the oddball calibers, handing out to people, that's gone just enormously bad. Alright, 30-40 Krags. I have 2 rifles chambered in 30-40 Krag, and I should have enough rounds to be able to supply people with that. I have the ability to make 3040 Crag from 303 British Brass, so I should be able to make that run. Alright, now a couple of oddball ones. Martini Henry, I don't have the logistical support to be able to run that. If I hand you a Martini Henry, I think I have like 5 rounds for it, maybe, and they're original period correct rounds, so that's not something that you want to rely on nowadays. They probably would go off, maybe, but that's one of those things where, again, if I'm handing you that, we're in trouble. Trapdoor Springfield in 4570, that's one of my regular shooters, and I absolutely have the logistical support to be able to give somebody a loadout with that. Alright, high point carbines. I got a 9mm and a 45 ACP high point carbine. The main reason why I haven't set those up with actual loadouts is because I've only got... Oh no, I guess that's not true. I got 1 magazine for the 9mm, but man, I guess I have enough magazines to make a full-fledged loadout with that 45, so that's cool. Alright, 735 Carcano. I got 1 735 Carcano and probably about 50 rounds of ammo to run through it, so that's one that I could probably get a loadout for in the event that I needed to. I got 2 Commission 88 rifles, and the reason why I don't include those is because they're from RTI and they are literally smoothbore. Like, for the people who say, hey, pay attention to the caliber in that because they used a 318 diameter instead of a 323 diameter that modern 8mm Mauser uses, and I'm like, guys, it's literally a shot-out smoothbore that's been sitting outside for, I don't know, a century by this point. That thing's probably 33 caliber by now, maybe even more. So, I got the Commission 88 rifles. 8mm Lebel rifles. I got a Berthier that's missing a front sight, but it probably would shoot and it would probably be accurate. I have an actual 8mm Lebel where the magazine tube itself is non-functional for the most part. You could maybe make it work, but we're just going to go ahead and call it non-functional. So that's basically a single-shot rifle if you decided to shoot that. It's got a loose barrel. I don't know what the headspace is on it. I haven't actually gone through to fix that yet. Emphasis on the word yet. The only real 8mm Lebel rifle that I have that I think I could viably get up and running is my Turkish Forestry carbine. And since I only have like 20 rounds of 8mm Lebel ammunition, that's probably going to be the one that I hand out in the event that I need to. Gras rifles. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. These are old school black powder 11mm Gras rifles that the French used way back in the day. I have shotgun conversions for those, so I could probably get those up and going at least well enough for somebody to have something that is better than nothing. I got a Beaumont, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Old school Dutch black powder bolt action rifle. As a matter of fact, I might have it sitting here somewhere. I don't immediately see it, and that's about all the effort that I'm willing to put into that. So I don't have any ammo for that, so that's just gonna hang out, I guess. I also got a 7184 Mauser without a bolt. So again, that one's probably just gonna sit around and hang out. So in terms of the rifles that I absolutely 110% know that I can do a full-fledged loadout and give out to people that I know are going to be functional, accurate, good to go, I got about 70 of those. Now, if we want to look at the things that might be a little bit questionable, might not have all the ammo that you want, might not have all the logistical support that you want with that gun, it looks like I can do 110 different loadouts with those rifles that I decided to hand out. So all in all, combining both rifles and handguns, it looks like I'd be able to arm 130 people with full-fledged loadouts, arms, munitions, and a way to be able to carry something with the YouTube loadout that I have currently gone over. Now, logistically speaking, this is where things get interesting. The first things that I would hand out just for logistical superiority based off of the number of things that I have, I would probably look at things in common calibers, like 223, 7.62 by 39, 30-06, 308, and probably 8mm Mauser, only because I have quite a few 8mm Mauser rifles, and I definitely have enough ammunition to be able to run those rifles. So logistically speaking, just easy handout. I know for a fact I have all of the things to run all of these. I have 33 different loadouts that I could give to just random individuals. And that's a fair amount of force to be able to work with. That's the easy to source, easy to use ammunition that I know I've got plenty of. Those are the things where, like, say, if I was looking at the 7.7 Jap, I probably have enough to be able to give a full loadout, but I'm not positive about that. Either way, it's going to be really, really close, and once you're out of that, then you're out of that. Versus something like the 30-06, 8mm, 223, 7.62x39, 308. You run out of your loadout, come see me. I absolutely have more for you. So, just logistical ease. I can arm 33 people for... I definitely could arm them at least once. I could arm 70 people, and I could arm 110 people, probably, with just the random things that I got laying around. And all in all, both rifles and handguns, a grand total of about 130 people. And that's a good, sizable force to be reckoned with. So I get that these are, well, older and more antiquated firearms. But if you think that 130 people armed with things like this is not a threatening force, then I hate to tell you, but you are definitely way too equipment hyped. I don't care if you... Oh, what am I trying to say here? If you have an equal number of people armed with more modern firearms, of course those more modern firearms are more likely to stand a chance. But that being said, the likelihood of my 130 people armed with these antiques coming up against a force armed with modern military-style equipment, probably not all that great, at least not here in the United States. And even then, I feel that even though if we are going up against people armed like that, odds are they have superior training as well. Most of the people that I would most likely be arming would be just random civilians that don't have any training whatsoever. Alright, minor inconvenience stopped my recording session, and I can't quite remember where I was, but I think I was talking about somewhere along the lines of the kinds of people I'd be handing firearms like this out to. They're people that probably don't... Is that thunder? My goodness, we got ourselves a storm coming. I gotta make sure everything's all locked down and closed up and whatnot. But the types of people I'd be handing these things to who have nothing are probably people who don't have an adequate amount of training, and they're people who probably wouldn't really be able to utilize the full potential of a modern firearm system. And with the things that we would likely be doing in a more realistic situation, the firearms that I'd be handing out would probably be adequate enough to handle like 95% of the jobs that we might find ourselves coming across. But there we go. That was just an interesting little experiment. I wanted to go over what I had, what I didn't have, what I could potentially get away with in the event that I had to start handing things out to large groups of people. Again, just for fun. I am not exactly planning on doing this, and I really hope that I don't find myself in a situation that is so bad that I have to do this. So thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. And I will see you on the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.